The tube is removed from the gene and placed into the eyeball socket. That's the Cliff Notes version there. The end result is a big guy with a small black circle. The doctors say Mr. Chapman couldn't get a receiver. Yeah, that's absolute.
I don't know if it was wet. I am wonderful. How are you? Thank you.
going on. There's a big chancellor's meeting coming up. What's that? I doubt that. Chancellor, believe it or not, doesn't get to vote on her own salary. But there are lots of other things that are going on. They're concerned, the university is concerned about enrollment. We have a lot of, during the pandemic, not the pandemic, the financial crisis, 2008, stopped having kids during that time. So that's like a little dip in children that's now turning 18. The 2007 to 2008 financial crisis, you remember that one? Yeah, that's a long time ago, but new children in that time in that cohort, so that means there's going to be a dip in enrollment, and I think the university is a little concerned about that.
You're looking ahead.
Morning. Outside right now? Nice. That's beautiful.
Beautiful sunrise here in lovely Lowell, Massachusetts.
Morning.
Good morning.
You're unplugging the router and putting it back in. Work, John. I can hear much better.
Hey, you look good. Sound good. You got a haircut. Who's free?
I'm gonna probably shut my screen off and mute once in a while just because I still have to get Anthony up and off. But I'm here.
Nothing's going to do with my holiday late. No, it's okay. We need to face reality. As bad as
Here we go.
Good morning, everyone.
I'll take care of that.
Welcome to the Dawn Patrol. I'm Cliff Krieger, your host. Eileen Delrossi is zooming in. We're hoping Fru Nkimbeng will be zooming in a minute. Hello,
Mike got the day
Eileen.
off?
What?
Is Mike off today?
Mike's off today. He's en route
Mike
to New
Smith.
Zealand.
Okay. New Zealand, that's right, yep.
And we have Dr. Bill Johnson with us. How are you, Bill?
I'm fine. Good morning.
10 degrees outside.
Is it windy?
I didn't think so. Do you think windy?
I don't know.
10 degrees.
You're in the car, can't tell.
It's early March.
I don't have a garage like the rich people that live behind me. So I didn't notice any wind. It is March. It's going to go all sorts of different ways. In 1849, the territory of Minnesota was created. Thus, we got Governor Tim Walz from that. There we go. In 1918, Russia signed the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk, agreeing to withdraw from World War I conceding German control of the Baltic states, Belarus, and Ukraine. It also conceded Turkish control of several areas. In 1924, the Ottoman Caliphate was abolished when the Caliph was deposed, giving way to reform in Turkey by Kemal Ataturk, Mustafa Kemal, known as Ataturk. I placed a wreath at the tomb of Ataturk in Ankara. That was a long time ago.
Placed a wreath where?
At the tomb of Mustafa Kemal in Ankara, Turkey. The sort of George Washington and Ben Franklin of Turkey.
Oh, okay.
And this surprised me. In 1938, oil was discovered in Saudi Arabia. I thought oil had been discovered before that. But
What year?
1938.
Okay.
Yeah, the U.S. was a big oil producer in the early
Yeah.
years. Pennsylvania, West Virginia.
Yeah. 1847, Alexander Graham Bell was born, Scottish-American engineer, academic, invented the telephone. And in 1888, Charles Ponzi, a Italian businessman and early financial expert, was born.
Financial innovator, I think.
Innovator, yeah.
We are going to talk about structured finance, right?
Yes.
So I'm looking forward to that.
1949, he passed away, but his Ponzi scheme remains. All right. In 1901, George Gilman passed away, American businessman, founded the great Atlantic and Pacific Tea Company, A&P. I don't think there is any A&P left, is there?
George Anthes used to work there.
Ah.
And his father was a big cheese there.
In 1987, Danny Kaye, American actor, singer, dancer, passed away. And in
Did you watch
28,
the Oscars?
the what?
The Oscars.
I didn't watch the Oscars. Did you?
Yeah, it was great. How about you, Billy? Watch
How
the
do you
Oscars?
spell that?
I did not watch.
Great.
Oh, I thought it'd be more a Grate, and I gave it a pass.
Yeah, I thought the orchestra was marvelous, and there was very little political speech. It was nice.
Well, but you had political speech inherent in the nomination of the first trans woman to be the for Best Actress.
They like to brag about that. I'm the first one to get this award that owns a bunny rabbit. They like to boast
Yeah.
about that they're first for something.
Do you have a bunny rabbit?
No, but I haven't won an award. I don't have anything to worry about. Do you have a bunny rabbit?
I don't have a bunny rabbit.
We have plenty that live on the property,
Oh, I saw one this morning as
but
I
none
pulled
that I
in.
personally own.
Yeah, I saw one this morning as I pulled in.
The gray or white?
It looked gray, but it was dark. My headlights turned on to him and he ran away.
We have a bunch of whites, and I just spotted a gray the other day.
If you wanted me to catch him, you had to ask me ahead of time.
No need. Let them roam.
So Emilia Perez was expected to do well, but only won 2 Oscars. But, I haven't seen that.
Honora won the big prize. Honora. I should look for the trailer for that.
Okay. So, did we get to Roger Bannister?
No.
2018, he passed away. He was born in 1921,
Good old
29.
Roger. Good old Roger.
First man to break the 4-minute mile.
Can I comment on him? So as someone who I enjoy running, and he is a really great guy. At the time he broke the 4-minute mile, he was a medical student. He was not a professional runner. He was really an amateur.
And when he became a mature man in his, well, maturity, I'll say, he was interviewed to ask about the things he was proudest of, and he never mentioned his running. He said he was proudest of his family, and that just touched me. Like, this is a man that we all would concede did something amazing.
Yes.
And yet he thought his family was more important, and that kind of touched me. I like that.
That is good. A man who understands the important things. Today's the feast day of St. Catherine Drexel. You people up here in the Boston area probably have never heard of her. I'm from Philly. She's from Philly. Founded
Is
her
she
own-
affiliated with the university, with Drexel University?
Yeah, that's her family.
Oh, okay.
Here's a live shot
Money.
of the port of Miami, and the cruise ships are sailing away this morning at this time. So, off for a week of adventure. This is a live shot down of Miami, so. Beautiful time. I wish them calm seas.
Eileen, have you ever heard of Kathleen Drexel?
I don't think Eileen's there.
Oh, she's gone away on
Check
us.
for her. No, she's going off quiet. She's there. Yeah. There she is.
Kathleen Drexel? Doesn't ring a bell? No. So, update on the Pope, critical but hanging in there. He was admitted to the hospital on 14 February, so it's a couple weeks to go. It does not require mechanical ventilation and is on oxygen.
He had a terrible weekend.
But he was up and said Mass on Sunday.
I think he attended Mass.
He is old. Admittedly, he's old. He's older than 85. Can I say that anyway?
Yes.
Since you didn't like the adjective old, I'll say he's older than 85, undoubtedly. But we wish him well.
Yes.
Hey, we started eating fish this week.
We're studying what?
Fish.
All right.
Lent starts this week.
Yeah. Donut Tuesday tomorrow.
Yummy, yummy.
There we go.
Is that a Lenten thing?
No, it's
Yeah.
a Pennsylvania thing.
Oh.
The donut might be Pennsylvania, but the fish is a Lenten thing.
When is Mardi Gras? That's not tomorrow.
It must be happening right now.
Well, it's a Tuesday, right?
Yeah,
Today's Monday.
Monday. Okay.
I just thought if you're eating
I've never-
donuts tomorrow, it must
Yeah.
be Mardi Gras, no?
Yeah.
Or is it the next week?
No, it's
It's at the beginning of-
before Ash Wednesday. Ash
I
Wednesday's
did not
Wednesday.
know.
So it's got to be
Sunday.
Tuesday. It's got to be
Yeah.
tomorrow. Okay.
Thanks, John.
I think.
Yeah, Mardi Gras falls on Fat Tuesday, right? Fat Tuesday, then Ash Wednesday.
Yep.
I
But-
did hear an article that they are no longer throwing out plastic beads in certain parades, which I understand why they're doing that, because it just creates a lot of junk in the streets and whatnot. But it's a little sad.
Yeah.
But I understand both sides. Some people are still throwing out glass beads, but the plastic ones were cheaper, so you could throw out a lot more.
And down in Brazil, they're having Carnival right now. It's a big deal in Brazil. So, my take on the problem with the Epstein files, which we were promised would be released, is that the FBI agents in the field office have been holding back files. Is that your understanding? Or haven't you been following the Epstein?
I followed it a little bit. I won't say I'm completely informed, but my understanding was that the
The
files.
storm is only 10 degrees.
My understanding was that the files were released and there was nothing new in them. This I heard on NPR, so you can take
Yeah.
that for what it's worth.
Oh, and that's NPR.
I'm just telling you where I got the information.
NPR.
If
The
you don't, if you
your
don't,
Democratic radio station.
You're exactly correct.
I'm only informing you where I learned this. So I'm telling
Yeah.
you.
I like to make fun of them.
The statement that they were making was that the White House has essentially trolled the people who wanted this information by making a big deal out of it, when in fact there was nothing new in there to be had. And I thought it was an interesting interpretation. I think the Trump White House is incredibly good at trolling and controlling the media, not what they say, but what the topic of conversation is. But, I'm open to other people's interpretation of these files. I think they were released because it gave the media something to talk about, and it was something the White House wanted them to talk about.
Yeah, my concern is that people within the Federal Bureau of Investigation have stifled the release of these files so that we're not getting the full report. And
But if that's the case, then that's the White House's decision, because the White House controls the FBI, right? The head of the FBI
certain
is
parts.
Kash Patel, who is appointed by the White House. The deputy director of the FBI is appointed by the White House.
Don Bongino.
Thank you. If anything is not happening in the FBI the way the White House wants, the White House is responsible and can just change it.
From what I understand, Doctor, New York FBI is a renegade outfit
Do you have a hoodie?
not
I think you should
under
put
the
a hoodie
control of the
on.
president at this time.
So this president in particular does not
You
hold
mean-
back.
You mean President Trump?
Yes.
Okay.
This president in particular does
You don't
not.
say Trump?
Sure, I'll say this president, President Trump.
Okay.
The
thanks.
current president of the United States, the duly elected president of the United States, just like the last one,
My guy, yep.
does not hold back from firing people that he doesn't like. He's not careful and says, well, maybe I shouldn't fire this person. If there are renegade agents in New York, as you suggest, I don't see any reason Trump wouldn't fire them immediately. He's not the kind of guy to sit back and think, what would be the consequences of firing these guys? He would just fire them. So I take issue saying something is happening at the FBI that Donald Trump doesn't like. I don't think that's the case. But once again, this is open to
Hey,
interpretation.
Fru.
My sense is
I'll double check it.
that
Thanks.
the current administration, having been frustrated in its first incarnation by bureaucrats slow rolling it, is working to impress upon employees that they shouldn't be this way, and that but it's taken a while to get to the New York field office and get hold of the people that are causing trouble.
Well, once again, I would point out there are two things, actually. The first one is Donald Trump has been in office. See, I'll say his name. I don't know why you think I wouldn't. Donald Trump has been in office 5 weeks, perhaps.
Yeah.
That's not actually very long. Now, you could say it's only 4 years he's in office, but it's still not very long. It's hard
No.
to get a lot done in 5 weeks. But once again, I would point out he's fired a lot of people already, and many people that have raised eyebrows. So I think if he wanted to fire the field office in New York, he'd just fire the whole field office in New York. I don't see what would stop him from doing that. That seems like his style.
Could be happening, even as we sit here.
Fru's
but-
here.
Hello, Fru.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
Thank you. So, I'm reminded of Harry Truman after Dwight David Eisenhower was elected, saying, "Poor Reich, he's going to come in and he's going to say, do this and do that, and nothing's going to happen. It won't be like the Army at all." So, Harry Truman, who struck me as being a reasonably decent politician was aware of the frustrations of the bureaucracy versus the administration.
Sure, and Donald Trump, of course, is used to controlling and owning his own company, and in his company, I'm sure he can more easily accomplish things than in the government. Nevertheless, I would still point out, he's not careful with firing people. If people do things he doesn't like, he seems to fire them fairly rapidly.
Yeah, he fired Zelensky on Friday.
Kicked him out of the White House.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that's a proud moment we as Americans should feel happy about.
No. On the other hand, I think a lot of that falls on Zelensky and Chris Murphy, the senator from Connecticut, who fired up Zelensky just before he went to the White House to demand security guarantees, which I don't think President Trump was prepared to give him.
Well, the United States made security guarantees back in the 1990s when Ukraine gave up its nuclear weapons. And that's unfortunate because we have not lived up to those security guarantees we've made. I think without the U.S. committing now to something significant, Russia is clearly not interested in guaranteeing the borders of Ukraine either.
I entertain the idea of giving nukes back to Ukraine. They gave them up with the Budapest Memorandum. Russia quickly violated the Budapest Memorandum. So why not give nuclear weapons back to Ukraine?
I'm not sure we want every country in the world developing nuclear weapons, although I would point out by allowing Russia to violate Ukraine in this way, we're encouraging every country to develop nuclear weapons because it's their only defense from a stronger military country. So in a world of strong arming and big countries violating little countries, everybody's got to have nukes to protect themselves.
But that's our habit. I am
It's
sure.
breaking. I cannot hear it.
I am sure that Kim Jong-un of North Korea took as a lesson when Hillary Clinton as Secretary of State got
Can you
together.
hear me?
Yes, I can. I can hear you.
Cliff, do you want me to call you on the phone?
Yes.
Yeah, I going back to your comment about Hillary Clinton, that's where you were.
Yeah.
They took smaller countries took as a lesson that, and this is foreign policy that goes back to George Bush and even earlier, right? Because the U.S. destabilized, I don't know if you want to use the word overthrew, but replaced, I don't know how to use the words in Afghanistan and Iraq, countries that didn't have nuclear weapons. And I think the lesson could have been, well, we better have nuclear weapons, or if we do things the U.S. doesn't like, they will just replace our government.
And Libya gave up its nuclear weapon program.
This ain't gonna work, Cliff. Ain't gonna work.
What's not going to work? How do I do it then?
Well,
He's gotta shut off something. He's got too much feedback. There's something coming out of his connectivity that is not good. Can you hear that?
Yeah, I can
You
hear
should
it.
hear nothing.
well, I can hear him on the phone.
I know, but it's just, if you're not making noise on the phone, no noise should be coming through.
How are we doing now, Fru? Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, I can hear you very well.
Good.
Okay, what am I going to do for a mic? Hand me
No,
that.
he's good. He shut off whatever the background. We're good.
Shouldn't we give him a mic because he's a little silent?
Well, you can take Eileen's mic or give it to him, whatever you want
That
to do.
portable mic. No, the other one. Yeah. And just press the button. Yeah, that should be good. So,
Cliff, you were saying something about Ukraine.
say again?
No, Ukraine. I just wanted to jump in that I heard some intellectuals discussing. I wanted to paint this picture. Imagine in the 60s, if Khrushchev has stood his ground, that you know what, we will stand in Cuba. Cuba would have been destroyed, right? It took a handshake between Khrushchev and Kennedy to resolve that. Had it also happened in Europe without us insisting, because we were unilateral power, we could go to anywhere and do whatever we want. I can see the members of these panels. During that time, they were shouting, "Kumbaya, they should go there, they should go there." Now they are changing. I don't know where members of this panel stand. Are we just following the wind, or we have a stand on something?
Ask Fru to shut the volume off on the first device he was using this morning.
Yeah, Fru, the producer asked you to turn off the volume on the first device you were using.
Thank you.
All right.
That works. Thank you. Whoop.
Well, now we have no Fru.
I got Fru.
I can't hear him.
Please proceed.
Can you hear me?
Now
yeah,
we can.
now we hear you. Yeah. Okay, so I'm
It's not going to work. Unless he shuts the extra audio source off, we're going to have a millisecond delay the whole show.
could you come over and because you have better insight into
Fru,
this
can you
than I
hear
do.
me? Hello, Fru. Not hearing you anymore. You muted everything. Unmute the phone, please. Still not hearing you. Unmute the phone.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
My phone is on. The computer is shut off.
What's the other sound? Where's the other sound coming from in the room?
It's not coming from me.
It has to be.
Oh.
Is there any chance it's Eileen?
No.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe.
Is it
Did you?
okay now? Is it okay now?
Well, we're gonna roll, we're gonna go with it. We'll see what happens. Thanks, Fru.
Okay. So,
No, I ain't gonna work. So tell them to shut off Zoom and just go.
do you
Zoom
hear
is
that,
shut off
Fru?
now.
Okay, let's go with
Kill Zoom and just go with the phone.
Yes.
Try that. Let's see how that works.
The echo is coming from Cliffside, not me.
I understand.
Ah. So, I think Fru sort of is. On Friday, someone brought up Professor John Mearsheimer, and put out a post on the Substack last year. Turn that off, Mike, and see if that's a problem.
I just ended the Zoom meeting. They're gonna have to call up.
All right.
Fru, are you still there?
Yes.
Okay. So John Mearsheimer said that the cause of the Russian invasion of Ukraine was that the West was promising to take Ukraine into NATO and the European Union, and Russia felt that that was encroaching on its security, which sort of goes back to the point Fru made about JFK and Khrushchev and the Cuban Missile Crisis. So, did I sum you up fairly there, Fru?
Yes, you did. And then another thing is we convinced nations to give up their nuclear aspiration and trusting us that we are reliable. If they sign an agreement with the US as well will hold it. Libya was bombed. If you see recently, the agreement that was signed by President Carter and Panama has been stripped. Do we really want the world to believe us in what we do?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right, Fru, to raise these kinds of issues because the U.S. Has, if you go back to the Budapest Accord, where the U.S. guaranteed the U.S. and Russia and the U.K., or was it? Yeah, the U.S., Russia, and the U.K. guaranteed Ukraine's borders, and then Russia violated them in 2014. Russia violated them again 3 years ago, and the U.S. Really hasn't done, certainly not in 2014, but even in the present agreement, is not living up to its the spirit, certainly, of its guarantees. I'm not sure, Fru, that I can agree that the U.S. is going to violate its Panama agreements. That seems more like bluster from the current president, or John wants me to say President Trump.
It avoids a lot of confusion when you're talking about this.
Well, I said the current president. I think that's clear, but I'll try to say President Trump.
I thought you were unenrolled.
I'm running what?
Unenrolled.
Unenrolled?
Not a member of any party.
I'm not a member of any party.
That's what I thought, okay. Democratically leaning, though.
Reasonable leaning. I'll say that.
Reasonably democratically leaning?
I didn't say that. So I think the U.S. has to be very careful, Fru, and I think you're correct that if we want our word to mean something, when we say something, we need to do it. And we especially need to do it when it's hard. We especially need to do it when we don't really want to do it, but we promised and we should do it. And that's when we should carry through on our word. And that's what will prove to the international community that we are trusted partners in things. And I'm not sure we've done a good job of that.
Okay, John.
On that note, when you listen to what most American intellectuals and diplomats that have talked around, that have actually walked around the world, I mean, is it Professor Jeffrey, who I think he made a presentation at the European Union now. He said that, I mean, between Gorbachev, Yeltsin, they agreed that NATO should not expand into those territories. That is why Russia, the Soviet Union, gave up. And with all what we have mentioned, it looks as if we defend ourselves, and then we think that we can go anywhere and do whatever we want, because at that time we were the only superpower, and we did not listen to anybody. Name it Iraq, name it Libya, name it Afghanistan, name it so many places. How do you think the world can coexist?
So I'm going to push back a little, Fru, on the exact way that you framed the story, because I think it's important to say the proximate cause of the invasion of Ukraine is the invasion by the Russian army of Ukraine.
Yes.
You could say it was a response to provocation or whatever, but ultimately the Russian army went into Ukraine. They violated their accepted international borders. Now, there may have been reason for that, and that's something that's open to interpretation. But it's unacceptable for the U.S. to be posturing as if Ukraine caused this, which many Republicans and people in Congress, and including this, the President Trump, I'm sorry, I can't say the current administration, including President Trump, have really intimated that Ukraine has caused this. I think that really misplays what has happened. You can blame the U.S. and U.S. foreign policy, and I think we bear a role. I also think you have to recognize the Ukrainian people want security guarantees. The Ukrainian people voted against Russian candidates. They want a pro-Western view. That's not the fault of NATO, and it's not the fault of the United States. That's what the people of Ukraine want. If that doesn't make Russia happy, that doesn't allow them to violate a sovereign nation just because they don't like the politicians in Ukraine.
Bill, excuse me. What I'm saying is not coming from me. So that is, I have to make that clear. I'm just listening to political analysts here saying that. So I'm just repeating what I hear. I don't have a stand in anything, but I'm just looking at it that for every coin there are two sides of it, and always every party presents their own side to their own local consumption.
Now, at this juncture, we're going to do the communications from the audience. For all the billions Zelensky stole from the U.S., the best he could do was a tracksuit off the clearance of racket marshals. Grow up, wear a suit and tie when you're visiting the White House. Tell that to, what's his name, Musk? Tell that to Musk.
Yeah, I think that's a very misleading.
I'm gonna blow through these and you can.
Okay.
After what we witnessed at the Zelensky meeting and the order yesterday from our president to end cyber activities against Russia, it may be time to realize the awful possibility that Trump is a Russian asset. That's from John Curtis. Moving right along here. Good morning. It's funny watching all these white liberals protest against Tesla when a majority of them probably own one at one time. Disgusting people. Moving right along, I think this is the last one. The Mardi Gras, whoops, drag this a little bit. The Mardi Gras, the original Mardi Gras in the U.S. was in Mobile, Alabama in 1703. Back to you. You're going to have a comment? Bill?
That's interesting.
I didn't know that.
No.
There's a large Catholic population in Alabama. You'd have to have a population of Roman Catholics to. So the comment that somebody made about Zelensky stealing billions and wearing a tracksuit, I think that person either doesn't understand the way money is allocated by Congress or doesn't care. Congress gave that money to support the Ukrainians in their fight against Russia. That wasn't Zelensky stealing money. With respect to what he wears, he has not worn a suit since Russia invaded Ukraine, and everyone knows. And I think the person who was asked this question at the press conference was trolling him. Everyone knows that he has not worn a suit since the invasion. His country is at war. His country is besieged by another nation. I think it's really unprofessional and irresponsible to ask such a ridiculous question by that reporter.
The audience.
The second, we should comment on the second one too, because I don't like.
Another one too?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, everybody's entitled to their. I don't think you read this one.
Did Ukraine or Russia donate anything to us after the hurricanes, wildfires? I think all we have, I don't think we all have that answer. Blank them. You were looking for another text? This one is.
Yeah, this one. I wanted to comment on this one. Donald Trump has a closer relationship with Russia than recent presidents have had. He says he wants to have a closer relationship. I think this is a little bit over the top in a different way than the last comment. Naturally, we encourage people to write in, and they're entitled to their opinions. I
Last nation on earth, where you can actually say what you think.
That's true. That's true.
So, yeah, I mean, I would have thought that the Russia thing had died away, but apparently
Well, it
not.
seems to me the media is getting just as bad
I also heard
as
something.
Facebook. You don't know what to believe anymore. Go ahead, Fru. Sorry.
I say I also heard one school of thought say that Putin may be the Ronald Reagan of the Soviet Union, while President Trump may be the Gorbachev of the U.S.
Well, that was an interesting thought, wasn't it? So, Fru, I really like the picture there. That where was that with you in front of the F4?
Which picture?
John has a picture up of you.
I'm not seeing the picture.
He took it.
I cannot see the screen because I don't know what happened.
Oh, okay.
That's okay. You'll see it another time.
All right.
It's a good
So-
picture of
I,
you. Good
I
picture.
hope I'm good looking.
Good picture
Yeah.
of Fru.
Well, you're especially good looking because you're standing in front of Double Ugly.
The F4?
Yeah.
I thought that was a beautiful plane. I used to draw that in grammar school.
It was colloquially known by those who flew it as Double Ugly.
Oh, you mean, is it in front of a military plane?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that was at the military base in Alabama, where I visited Mehmet Ali.
Ah, so that would be Montgomery, and so that's Maxwell Air Force Base.
Maxwell Air Force, yes, that was Maxwell Air Force.
Yeah. So the war in Ukraine is grinding down the population of Ukraine. It's grinding down the population of Russia. Russia has been at it for 3 years.
They started it.
Last year, they gained 30 miles on the Ukrainians.
Cliff, what started this whole thing? Russia started it. Russia crossed the border and started to take parts of Ukraine. What aggravated Russia to the point where they did that? Can you speak to that? And if you can't know
Yes.
everything. Please tell us.
That's one of our audiences, I was very impressed, came up with John Mearsheimer, who wrote a paper. If you just look up John Mearsheimer and Ukraine, the paper pops up, and he said that Russia was very upset about plans to bring Ukraine into NATO and into the European Union, and they felt very threatened by it, and that this resulted in them taking action. Now, here we are. People are dying. The Russians have had to go to North Korea to get manpower and materiel to sustain the war. They're slowly grinding Ukraine down. Another 5 years, it could be over. And maybe a couple million more people will be dead. Okay, what's this say?
Let me stretch it out so you can probably see it at home a little
What,
bit.
Cliff?
Wait a second, Fru. Gonna do this text. Yes, Musk looked just as out of place at the White House as Zelensky, especially with the kid wrapped around his neck. At least the kid wore a suit and tie. Okay, Fru, you're up. Go ahead.
I want to throw this to the panelists to think about. This war probably is just beginning. Did any of you hear what the incoming Chancellor of Germany said? Europe is mobilizing to go on an out offensive war, and this war may just be beginning, and it may end up in something than we expected, because sometimes you start the war, you don't know how it's going to end.
That's true.
And that also has opened the door for the Europeans to start thinking about their own defense and not relying elsewhere. And they are planning on that. They are boosting their own military budget. So gone are the days that the Europeans are thinking that they have a savior.
Just a second. Now, this morning, the BBC reported that Germany's out. Germany's not going to stand up for Ukraine. Poland's not going to stand up for Ukraine, and nor is Spain. Those three countries have already said they're not going to back Ukraine.
This is new news since this morning?
This morning.
Okay, so
This morning, BBC.
That contradicts what the new German chancellor, his election was based on the fact that they will stand with Ukraine, and that is what his speech mentioned.
Well, the BBC's reporting otherwise. I know enough to be dangerous. Going to read this text. The reporter who questioned Zelensky on his choice of attire was none other than the boyfriend of mega lunatic and Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene. So he said that. Okay, thank you for your comment. Back to you, Cliff.
Yeah, I knew who the reporter was.
Oh, you know him?
I knew who the reporter was, yes.
Okay, is he a troublemaker?
I'm not sure it matters what I label him as.
So, solving the problem in Ukraine. The previous administration, the Biden-Blinken-Sullivan administration, engaged in a process of prolonging the war, providing Ukraine with enough forces to sustain itself, but not to go over on, enough material to sustain itself, but to not go over onto the offensive and win.
I disagree with Jay on his comment here.
All right, we'll read the comment and then I'll continue.
Musk could wear pajamas for all I care. If he slices government waste and pork, that's all that matters. He's out of uniform. He should dress appropriately in the Oval Office.
All right.
Uniform. Back to you, Cliff.
So, the next option for solving this war is give the Ukrainians back some nuclear weapons so that Putin says it's not worth the game is not worth the candle, and he'll back off. Another option is to put ground forces in from U.S. or other NATO nations. Does anybody want to put ground forces into Ukraine to repel the Russians?
Well, I think this would be part of a peace deal, right? This is what Ukraine is looking for. If Ukraine were to have a peace deal, they would want ground forces from other nations to ensure that the peace really occurs. But yeah. certainly, when the president warned Zelensky about World War III, that's not entirely an idle. It's threat.
Not.
It's not an entirely idle threat. I think it's something that has to be in the back of your mind unconditionally, and drawing more nations in to this conflict without a peace deal is problematic. The flip side, of course, is Ukraine is going to say, we've had a ceasefire. We had a ceasefire maybe 18 months ago, and Russia violated it. So they keep grinding, as you pointed out. Russia is just grinding. Russia's economy is 10 times the size of Ukraine's, 5 to 10. The population is 10 times the size of Ukraine's. In a grind-out war, all things, they may continue for 10 years, 20 years, 50 years. Russia will be hurt a lot less than Ukraine in this. Can I comment on John's BBC News article this morning?
Go right ahead.
Not yet.
Okay. Not yet. But
I'll come
yes,
back to it.
I'm
Okay.
hurrying here. So,
Fru's got to skedaddle soon.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention what Bill has equally said. But until this administration, the previous administration, and everyone was going with the train that bomb. You cannot settle war by bombing. It is only this administration that has come in and opened doors for conversation. If we are talking now, it's a different game now that we are seeing people are talking. But the previous one was bomb. And if that is the way to solve problems, which has been since 1994, since the Soviet Union collapsed, gunboat diplomacy doesn't resolve problems. It creates problems.
And that is the point, my last point on ending the war. Trump is coming at this as a businessman. He is thinking everyone at the table has to get something out of this. This negotiations cannot result in the total devastation of Russian claims and desires. It has to give them a little bit. It has to give Ukraine a lot.
What about us?
If the war stops, we benefit because we're sending less money to Ukraine.
Professor Jeffrey Sachs also has written great articles
Yes,
on Ukraine.
That's the professor that I was talking about who addressed the European Parliament.
Yeah.
I'll start to read this again. Professor Jeffrey Sachs has also written great articles on the Ukraine-Russian war. Unfortunately, the West is responsible for the destruction of Ukraine and the loss of territory. We wouldn't want Russian missiles on our borders. Thank you for your comment.
There we are. So,
May I?
yeah.
Okay, so John mentioned this article in the BBC. I found an article that the headline is, quote, New Ukraine peace deal and Zelensky king-size welcome. As of 7 hours ago, Germany, Spain, and Poland are among the countries who have so far not offered to join what Keir Starmer called a coalition. So basically, John, I think Poland, Germany, and Spain have not joined Keir's group of nations that European nations that are trying to support Ukraine. I don't think that means they refuse to join. This is just a meeting that Keir Starmer had with Zelensky over the weekend. I mean, I think it's premature. The one that really caught my eye, though, is Poland. Poland really has issues with Russia.
When I watched a tidbit of the BBC News this morning, they were talking that those three countries, Spain,
Germany and Poland,
will not be backing Ukraine.
Oh.
I'm only telling you what this article says.
And I'm only telling you what I
Okay.
watched this morning at BBC, so it's your article doesn't say they're going to support them, does it?
It does not.
Okay.
And mine's also 7 hours old, so this is 7 hours current as of 7 hours ago. So it's also possible, you're getting more updated.
The script for the BBC could change for new time. Go ahead, Fru. Sorry.
No, I wanted to tell Cliff that I will be out in 6 minutes.
Okay. So, Fru had raised a question about as Europe develops its own army, a unified European army, it raised a question about would they become aggressive and use that army in other parts of the world. Did I sum that up right, Fru?
Yes, Cliff.
Why don't you expand on that just a little bit?
Well, the question that I will start, the premise is that does Europe has any natural resources? The US has abundance of natural resources. Does Europe has any natural resources that they can survive on? That's a question. And if that question is yes, then then I don't have anything to say. If that question is no, then I can elaborate.
Well, I think the answer to that question is no. Europe had the resources to get into the natural resources to get into the industrial age, but aside from oil in the North Sea, I don't think they do.
Okay, then to follow up with that question, you will see that which continent can survive without each other, Africa or Europe?
Yeah.
Got a comment from the audience?
Hang on, Fru, just a second and we'll finish up. Go ahead, John.
Alrighty. Over the years, Elon Musk has received 38 billion, yes, billion in government contracts, loans, subsidies, tax breaks from the U.S. government. Now, there's some waste in pork that needs to be cut. Comment from the audience. Back to you, Cliff.
Okay, Fru, so given the lack of natural resources in Europe, you think that Europe would turn aggressively to Africa?
No, I don't think. What happened in Berlin in 1885, was it just a trip, a pleasure trip, or what took them to Africa, to the so-called partition of Africa? It was the quest of raw materials. And this will be another start of a terrible, and sooner or later you will see the nations will start wars in Africa, and that would be the camouflage that Africans cannot manage themselves. But everything will be coming from elsewhere because of the raw materials. And sometimes it's very, very difficult. Western opinion, they like to defend themselves that they are saviors. They don't like to, and thinking that they own the whole of Africa because of their so-called partition. I don't think anyone on the panel can say positively anything in support of that, but the leaning support would be as if Europe and the Western world will be saviors.
Go ahead, Mike.
So one of the things I would say, Fru, is since we're talking about Ukraine, allowing Russia to invade and seize large tracts of land from Ukraine will not make Africa safer. We're now setting up a precedent, particularly if there's a peace deal that allows Russia to keep significant amounts of the land that it seized. We're setting up a peace deal that will say, okay, these are the rules we live by. The more powerful nation takes land from the weaker nation, and it takes the resources it wants, it takes the people it wants, and it does what it wants. So I don't think that's going to be helpful. I think what we need to do is we need to respect international law and international boundaries. I think we played this game before in the 1930s, and I don't think this is a winning game to play. I think we need to respect borders as they exist.
Well, that's very true. I think that question has been dodged skillfully, because when it comes to Africa, we ways only to defend Europe. There is no one that can stand up and say what is being done by Europeans in Africa is bad. I think that response definitely explains it, because we have discussed very much at length about Ukraine.
We got to go.
Okie doke. We're going to go for the break. Fru, thank you very much, and we'll see you Monday.
You're very welcome. Have a good week.
Okay, and you too.
Bye, Fru.
Stay warm.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to City Life Show. I'm Cliff Krieger, your host. Lost out there somewhere in Zoom land is Eileen Delrossi.
Zoom's done. I killed when I couldn't get rid of the feedback when we were trying to talk to Fru. I had to end the Zoom connection.
Ah,
Eileen never called.
so there we are. But we do have our guest, Dr. Bill Johnson. I was hoping we're going to talk GDP and inflation and all that stuff. We never quite got to it, but maybe this session. So how are you doing, Bill?
I'm fine. How are you?
Bill's one of those lucky people who has a garage so that the 10-degree temperature that we have outside wasn't quite as bad. And then we have our producer,
Oh, I'll leave that just in case you have another call.
John McDonough. And John is
Shutting down Zoom.
shutting down Zoom. Yep. 10 degrees. Yep.
And
So-
it's windy.
Bundle up. Yeah. We'll get an update on the wind from John in a second. Tomorrow is Donut Tuesday, and Wednesday is Ash Wednesday. So I don't have all the information.
There's your wind, Cliff. Got Mr. Flag right
Oh,
here.
yeah, look at that. I didn't notice that coming into the
So you might
studio.
want to drive little Billy and little Cliff to school today, please.
Yeah, bundle them up and make them walk. It's good for them. So at the Immaculate, there's a Mass Wednesday at 9 in the morning. It's for the kids at the Immaculate, but everyone's welcome. There'll be a Mass at the hospital at noon, 5 at Holy Trinity there on High Street, and at 6 back at the Immaculate. So if you want to go get your ashes and start Lent out with a bang, there it is. So I'm sort of missing Eileen on this subject. I wonder if maybe I should call her. Everyone, hang on just a second.
What's the topic?
The schools.
Ah.
Hi, Eileen.
I got kicked off this Zoom.
Yeah, I know. Can you talk?
Yes, I can talk.
I was looking at the school committee agenda, and I saw where Lauren Hayhurst up in Dracut is going to get paid $15,750 to provide a tutor to work with one student to focus on student IEP. Seemed like a lot of money. And
It's what they call compensatory services, could be. Compensatory services are if a student, for some reason, didn't get their services, whether a teacher was out or they missed their reading services, their math services, then it kind of makes sense because it's essentially making services up.
I was just wondering, maybe we could get volunteers here in Lowell to do this for free. Have we looked at that?
I don't know. Are you volunteering to volunteer?
If my wife is probably not watching the show, so yeah.
I'm going to tell her.
And then when she finds out. But again, like from what I know of Lauren Hayhurst, she's also a certified teacher, I believe. And you really, if you need somebody to do those services, then, and it's for a certain amount of time, the district owes it to the student, and legally, they have to provide it.
Yep, that makes sense.
Multitude of reasons, Cliff.
I'm glad to see it happening. I was afraid it wasn't happening. So bus transportation for homeless students. To provide round-trip transportation for homeless students residing in Lowell and attending Lowell public schools or other towns or cities. All of the items read that way. Why can't we say where the kids are going? I don't think I understand that.
Oh, HIPAA, Cliff, HIPAA.
Oh, give me a break. We're violating HIPAA by disclosing that they're going to Lynn? That doesn't make sense.
Somebody knows that a certain student that lives in Lynn is going to school in Lowell. I mean,
No, the kid lives in Lowell, is a homeless kid, but they came here from Lynn. Oh, well. 68 students are being transported. $460,000 is being spent on transportation. Did you see where John Dakota's got a motion for the city council to get a waiver to this law so that we don't have to transport students back to the cities from which they came?
yeah, no, I think that's obviously a good idea. I didn't know a waiver existed. I thought they would be we're mandated federally when a homeless student comes here to pay for it. But if there's a waiver, I think that's a very good idea. And he would know, I guess, because he was in transportation for so long.
Yeah.
Cliff, I'm not sure I understand. If I could ask for a clarification. So these are students who don't live in Lowell, so why are they going to Lowell schools?
No, they live in Lowell. They're homeless
Now,
living in Lowell.
because they were placed here for a shelter, probably maybe at the U.MASS Lowell Indian Conference Center.
I
And
see.
Lowell has the onus that once they live here and maybe they received funding for that student or for that family or whatever it was, that part of that funding goes towards the transportation of the student.
But
so
if
they don't have to go through the change of a school.
So if they live in the Inn and Conference Center, it doesn't cost $460,000. But you're saying then the student moves somewhere else. Why would they stay in the Lowell School District?
Well, the McKinney-Vento Act from Congress says that if they're living here, say in the shelter, that the child, if the family displaced to Lowell, that the child should be returned to where he had been going to school before the family became homeless. And that's costing us $500,000 a year to
That's
return
paid-
those school.
That's
the
paid
kids.
by the local school district? That seems
Yes.
like the state should say, this is not Lowell's problem. This is the state that's saying, I don't know, it seems like it'd be weird to put the burden on the city of Lowell.
But the city of Lowell also accepted whatever federal state funding that was offered to house these students, and with housing them applies the McKinney-Vento rule for transportation as well.
Ah, okay.
So,
So it's tough. I mean, once Lowell has accepted those funds, then it's kind of like we're on the hook. But I mean, if John Dakota knows of a waiver, and I think that's a good thing because it's not efficient or an effective system for anybody.
yeah, and if we stop transporting this kid in here, maybe we don't get $500,000 back, maybe that money goes away. But then the kids are not stuck on the road for however long it takes. Half hour, 45 minutes going each way.
And it's, and it's school hours, so obviously it's probably usually longer.
And, yeah. So Fred Bahu has a motion that we allow the emails of students to continue after they graduate. And I thought that was a great motion.
And I think we talked about it on the show, too, because it would be easier to track students.
Yeah.
Right? One tantalizing Friday morning, one fantastic Friday morning on City Life. We talked about this.
Yes, because we would like to track graduates and see how they're doing. So Fred also wants to know about openings in the school in the 24-25 budget. And Eileen wants to know, wants the superintendent to work with appropriate departments to plan for new placements of all the classrooms and programs in the basement of the 1922 building. Oh, we talked about that Friday, didn't we?
Yes. I mean, the culinary program's down there. The Lowell Community Health Center is down there. Although I drove by there Saturday morning, and I haven't driven by in a while, that whole area is already so ripped up.
Okay, and Jackie Doherty wants to know the number of teachers by school who have not received their full certification and what we're doing to fix that. And I hope we're going to start creating some sabbaticals for teachers to go out and improve their education. So
Yeah, I mean...
So I don't understand why students who are refugees in the Inland Conference Center fall under McKinney-Vento.
Because they're automatically deemed homeless.
Okay.
And in a protected class because of, if they are refugees, it's how the city can protect them.
So we have a bunch of data in a report on Lowell High School construction, and I was looking at minorities and all, like, they claim there's 188,000 man-hours being handled by minorities. So using 2,080 hours as a work year, not bad number. That gives you 90.6 man years, but the report claims there are 932 people that are minorities working on the project. So what are they doing? Only working a tenth of a week or something? And then the people from Lowell, 67,000, that'd be 32 people. But yet the report claims 146 people are working on the high school project from Lowell. And then females, 35,000 man hours. That's 17 females, but yet we're claiming 136 are working on the project. So those numbers don't make any sense to me, Eileen.
Well, yeah, I think it goes back to your first question, okay, about the tutoring that's hired. I don't think she should get a lump sum of that amount, but if it's already owed to her, you know what I mean, obviously, it needs to go to her. I think hours should be kept track of, and for, like, weekly time sheets should be submitted of hours actually worked and verified, and I think that's where the city of Lowell goes wrong, because they maybe are trying to do too much at once and it loses track of everything.
Yeah. So,
honestly, I've never heard of somebody tutoring in the city of Lowell that just gets that lump sum payment. You submit time, even I've done extracurricular tutoring and you submit a timesheet and then you get reimbursed once it goes through the proper channels. You know, but I mean, again, like I said, I don't know the exact situation. I don't know if those hours were already worked and are now owed to her, or it's going to be given a set amount.
So, the Maine Governor, Janet Mills, had a Zelensky-like confrontation with the president over DEI and transgender students and things like that. And her response to the president was, "See you in court." So,
Yes.
Well, I think the reason she said that, and the president is saying that this is the law, and she's saying we're going to follow the law. That was the confrontation, and then the interpretation of the law is what comes out of the court. So I interpret that as the president and the governor disagreeing about what the law says, and in a sense, that's what the courts are there for.
Talk to the president is not a good idea.
But which president? Were you going to use his name?
President Trump.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to make sure you knew which one we were talking about.
But even if it was President Washington, talk to the president is not appropriate. When Nancy Pelosi tore up the budget, whatever she tore up in the background, completely inappropriate.
That was inappropriate. I would agree with that. But I think Donald Trump has a way of creating television and events. In fact, he said it right after Zelensky left. The last thing he said in that room was, "This is going to make great television." I think Donald Trump...
Zelensky hadn't left yet.
I think Donald Trump wanted that. I think he wanted a confrontation, and he wanted to make television.
Yeah, but you don't
He's
like
actually said that in his first administration.
Bill,
He wanted...
You don't like the guy.
I don't think he's an effective president. Now, we could disagree about that, but I don't think he's an
No, but
effective...
I mean, personally,
I've never met him. I've never met him.
I think you actually dislike him as president.
I don't think he's a good president. I think he doesn't follow through on his promises. He promised to build a wall in 2016 between the U.S. and Mexico. He didn't build a wall. He promised to have Mexico pay for it.
Since when can you believe a politician?
Well, I think they should first be judged based on what they say.
Well, the thing I like, about Trump, Bill, is this. He takes questions. When you go down to the Texas sidestep is the best example of what a politician is. They see you coming along with your microphone. I got a question for you. Oh, I have to go. They're no busier than you and I am. They may be a little bit more busy than you and me, but just a little bit. And not to make time to talk to their constituents out in listening land is not right. Back over to you.
yeah.
So I would concede that picking a fight with Donald Trump is generally a bad idea. That's without a doubt. I don't know the history of the relationship with the governor of Maine and the president. Yeah, I mean, I think the outcome will be, it'll come out of court about what has to happen. I actually tend to side with the president's position on this, that we should not, particularly in amateur sports, but in all sports, I mean, professional sports, they can decide if they want to have things done in a certain way, that's fine. But in amateur sports, in high school, I think it's problematic to have people who are significantly larger, significantly stronger. In a way, I could see this as a women's rights issue, that women have always, throughout history, back into the 1950s, they've not had good representation in things like sports, and they've not gotten funding. And they finally are moving in the right direction, and now we're going to say, oh, but we're going to allow everybody into your sports. And that's a problem. So, I always think, to me, the solution is to say, look, we're going to have two types of sports. One is for people with two X chromosomes, and the other one is an open. Anybody can compete in the open. It can be a man, it can be a woman. It doesn't matter how you define yourself. And the other one is exclusively for people with two X chromosomes. I think that's the easiest solution. And then I would label them exactly the way I just did. Then we don't have to argue about what people think they are or what they say they are.
So the question is, we're still on the, we're going to depend on Maura Healey to defend us, and we don't have to worry about losing federal funding. Is that right, Eileen?
Well, I mean, honestly, I don't know. Say what you just said again, Cliff.
We seem to have missed the famous 4 Ps, prior planning, 5 Ps. Prior planning prevents poor performance.
What?
You've never heard that,
No,
John?
I just
don't
think
ever wanna hear
the
it
city
again.
is allowing money to the funding to be their North Star and not common sense.
No, I'm just worried about it. That we're going to find ourselves without the money. Yeah, well.
Yeah, I think it would be unfortunate if personality between federal and state officials is what dictates money flowing. I think that would be problematic and not a good way to do our government. I'm not sure that Donald Trump is going to allow that to happen.
Okay, I'm going to give Jan the last word. As far as compliance goes with the Trump orders and how it may impact funding, the school committee did discuss this a bit at their last meeting. They
Yeah,
landed.
that was my motion because I was afraid of losing federal funding. Because I'm just like if this current president is saying federal funding is going to get pulled, then I was saying, like, can the superintendent work with the proper departments to assure that the federal funds don't get pulled? I wasn't trying to say anything else besides, like, maybe change the word, like, figure it out so our funds don't get pulled, so it protects programs that students are currently in. And I kind of got that same reaction, like, we'll see what the court says, and I did not even get a second on that.
Okay, so Jen continues, they landed on taking a wait-and-see approach because things are still in flux with orders being given and then rolled back or blocked. So at this point, we're moving forward with what we have been doing while keeping an eye on things and awaiting guidance from DESE on what, if anything, the district may need to change. So there's the school position.
Okay, I got some text,
All right.
and I'll bring them all up now. Yeah, they are. Come on, baby. Okay. So this one here is a bunch of texts from this guy while I was not in the room. Now we have to respect borders after the invasion of our borders. The last 4 years pathetic. We mean newcomers, just say it. The manager could have said no to the governor. After the last 4 years, one guy who clearly has mental issues, I'll take Trump and Vance standing up for the country. That's from Jay. Moving right along, they are deemed homeless, even though we pay for a shelter at the U.MASS Inn and Conference Center, formerly known as the hotel, for the people of Lowell paid for. Maine is the place that invented the toothbrush. Anywhere else would have called it a teeth brush. And that's the last of my messages for you guys. Back over to you. Thank you.
Well, it is sort of the Appalachia of New England. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's worth keeping in mind that if there's a fight between politicians, the students are the ones who are going to lose out, and that's unfortunate. And for that reason, I think politicians should do their best. Both sides. I'm not saying it's just, on the Massachusetts side or whatever, but they should do their best to make sure that students get what they need. I think the students are owed that, and then figure out political problems in a different way without causing harm to students.
Yeah, and that, like, the kind of the wait and see is, like, I kind of took away in my own words that like we'll wait to see what the courts will eventually decide. So Jen was right in what she said. It was definitely a wait and see, but nobody wants to jump and really do anything right now when we're in a state of like this is all new and let's not do anything until
So Eileen,
we get an official.
Eileen, the end of the story this morning about the when we had Zoom up, I had to kill the Zoom connection because we had too much feedback coming when I was trying to get Fru's transmission out there. So I had to kill the Zoom connection. That's what happened.
Okay, I sent a message on one of the platforms. I think it was maybe Facebook
Yeah, I'm
or
reading it now.
YouTube I was on, but I didn't know if you got it.
I didn't get it until just now, but I thank you for
Okay.
letting me know.
Okay, so I've heard a suggestion that we go with electronic ticketing of drivers.
Love that.
Now, for me, I'd like to have electronic ticketing of jaywalkers, but that may not be possible.
Maybe down the road, but I think it was Kim Scott put a video out there off a security camera of a student driver driving down, I believe it was Woburn Street, heading towards inbound to Lowell, driving along at student driver speed, left directional on to pull into their home, and a radical driver behind them passed them on the driver's side. They were indicating they were turning. And I just think that the cops are too busy to write tickets. So let's take it away from the cops. And you get 3 tickets a year. The 4th ticket gets reported to your insurance company. The first ticket's $100, the second ticket is $250, and the third ticket's $500. So the state gets wealthy, not the insurance companies. But I think that would, can you imagine if the speed limit was enforced on 495? First of all, put the speed limit on 495 up to 75. And if you're doing 76, you get a ticket. That's my take.
So when you say electronic ticketing, you're talking about having a radar device that tracks speed automatically,
A computer.
takes a picture of plates, and if you're going over, it mails you a ticket.
Correct, Mundo.
Yeah. So they do this commonly in Europe. I don't think it's
New York.
New York does it as well.
Yep.
Okay.
John, did you get one?
No, but Eileen, I can only imagine if you know you're going to get a ticket, there is no way you're going to pass a school bus.
Yeah.
It's, I ain't paying $100. His first time's $100. And I don't want the insurance companies notified unless you got 4 tickets in a 12-month period.
What are the unintended consequences?
Let's find out.
Like out in Utah, they took the blood alcohol limit from 0.08 to 0.05, and that they had between 2016 and 2018, they'd averaged 33 drunk driving deaths a year. And then in 2019, the first year of the new law, deaths plummeted to 27. However, drunk driving deaths in Utah bounced back to 48 in 2020, 61 in 2021, and 69 in 2022. So somehow this do-good approach ended up resulting in more DWI deaths. And I worry that if you clamp down on the people, you end up encouraging
Drunk driving?
less obedience to the law. Now, I realize that this was back when you were born, but there was a study out in the 1950s, and they found that speeding in neighborhoods, that when they moved the speed limit, I can't remember the numbers, but I think it was 25 to 30, they found there was less, the average speed on the neighborhood streets dropped because the speed limit was closer to what people thought was acceptable.
Cliff, how do you enjoy driving in Lowell now?
Not that much. Why?
The blocking, do you see a frequency of blocking of intersections, driving through red lights? I mean, you look.
Jaywalkers?
I'm talking about motor vehicle traffic. The driving through
They're
red
part
lights.
of motor vehicle traffic.
Driving through red lights is terrible. I see it happen quite frequently, no matter where. I could be up in Belvedere, I could be up at the Highlands, doesn't make any difference where I am. People, they know all the lights are gonna be red for 3 seconds. And it goes to yellow, I'm good, speeding up on yellow. And then the light turns red and they still go right through. Electronic ticketing, we'll take all that away. Gone. Blocking the intersection, oh, baby. It's going away.
Yeah.
I got announcements to do real quick. Gonna go as fast as I can here. You're cordially invited to meet and greet reception for Mark Kratman, for the Tewksbury Select Board on Wednesday, March 5th, 6 to 10 p.m. at T.J. Callahan's, 1475 Main Street in Tewksbury. Hope to see you out there. This Thursday, it's gonna be the last one.
You want to do that first?
The last one. The last one for Golden Gloves this year is going to be Thursday. It's going to be on WCAP, big event. So it'll be on the radio. And the last time to take your grandkid to go watch these boxing matches, they're fantastic to watch, a lot of fun. Coming up, State Representative Rodney Elliott and the Bridge Club have a fundraiser for St. Patrick's Breakfast. I know I'm going to that with Ned Tarmy and a bunch of other people honoring Tom Shanahan. And the Harvey Quinn Dances will be there Saturday, March 15th, 9 a.m. If you want tickets, be in touch with Bob Cox. His phone number's way down here. Or take your smartphone and put it in camera mode, and this will bring you to a web page where you can go buy tickets as well. That's on March 15th. Moving right along, out in the Tingsboro Sportsman's Club, 90 Westford Road in Tingsboro is going to have a Shamrock Dinner, March 17th, 4 to 8 p.m. All tickets sold at the door. $12 for seniors. That's for me. Vets and kids, $6. Proceeds to benefit the Shriners Hospital, St. Jude's Hospital, and Hidden Battles. Sorry. U.MASS hired the annual Greater Lowell Job Fair, March 25th. Sorry, I got dry throat this morning. March 25th and 26th at the Middlesex Community College Cafe. That's in downtown Lowell, the big tall building. Nice place to visit. So if you want a nice new job, 60 employers are going to be there. As I'm coughing my head off here. Health fair out in Tewksbury. Sorry, if you got something bothering you, like me, be in touch with Susan Timmons. Her phone number's down the bottom here. And she'll tell you if they can help you out on April 9th. It's a freebie. And at the Tewksbury Senior Center, 175 Chandler Street in Tewksbury. Danielle McFadden, she's running for school committee citywide. She's having a campaign kickoff party Thursday, April 3rd from 5 to 8 p.m. at the Mount Pleasant Golf Club, 141 Staple Street. And the Megan House Foundation, they're having a golf fundraiser, and that's coming up in a lot of information here. Can't see where, but at any rate, good August on June 16th. So I'll figure this out way before June 16th. But the Megan House, they help a lot of young women. That's my last announcement. Back over to you, Cliff. Thank you.
Eileen, real quick, did you watch the Oscars?
No, I did not. Did anyone get punched?
Not that I know of.
Is that why you didn't watch? No one was going to get hit?
Yep, I must have known.
So let's go to a technical financial issue. I saw an article that structured investments could lead to an economic downturn. Is that right?
So let me explain what structured investments or structured debt are. Cliff sent me this article in the Wall Street Journal. I read through the article. So when you think of debt, normally debt involves me going to the bank and asking the bank for the loan, and traditionally the bank gives me the loan and then I pay the bank back. That's the way loans traditionally have worked. What structured debt does is it repackages that loan, and the bank actually sells the loan to another financial institution, and a lot of times it gets packaged to be a bunch of bonds, and the coupons on the bonds are paid by the borrower. So let's say,
Now you're getting into Greek.
yeah, I'm gonna lay it out
Thank you.
nice and easy for you. So let's say I have a mortgage on my house and I borrow from Cliff's bank. And so I make my monthly payments to Cliff, and traditionally this is the way that that banks have operated. Certainly back before the 80s, that's how they all operated. But Cliff says, well, I have this series of cash flow payments from Bill on his mortgage. I would like to make more mortgages, but I need more cash to do that. So what I'll do is I'll sell Bill's mortgage to someone else. And so he actually sells my mortgage, which, remember, is me making monthly payments, to someone else. And when you start packaging them as a whole basket of mortgages, that's where you get into structured debt. Now, this was very common leading up to the financial crisis in 2007, 2008. A lot of the structuring and the debt credit ratings were manipulated, or, I mean, it depends how you attribute causality, but there were significant problems in the financial crisis. People were making assumptions about real estate not going down, and it largely led to the financial crisis. So it is having a resurgence based on the article that Cliff sent to me. If everything is transparent and everybody understands what they're doing, it's probably not a problem. If people don't understand what they're doing and it's not completely transparent, and there are incentives to make things not completely transparent, then it can be a problem. So I wouldn't say it's definitely a problem, but if things are not transparent, it can be.
And then we got the federal bank down in Atlanta, I think, this has a GDP tracker, and the article I read said that GDP was going to go negative, but then inside it said it was going to drop from an expected 2.5 down to 1.5. But is the GDP dropping?
So let's, the GDP, you're talking about the growth rate of GDP.
Yes.
And so the U.S. is generally on a trajectory to grow 2.5% per year. A good year, it can grow more than 2.5%. I'm concerned about some of the things the Trump administration is proposing in terms of, say, tariffs, for instance, which put a lot of pressure on U.S. exports. Indirectly, but some of the things the Trump administration wants to do, I think, could be a problem for U.S. GDP growth. But I think the only way to tell is to wait and see what will happen.
What about his?
I got text when you're ready.
Yeah, I was going to ask about the gold card that Trump's proposing.
Yeah, so the gold card is an immigration, I guess, like a visa, so you could basically purchase citizenship in a sense, or residency. I'm not sure if it's for citizenship or residency. Probably leads to long-term citizenship for non-U.S. nationals. Lots of countries have these kinds of things. I think the U.S., if you make an investment of a certain amount, even now I think in the U.S. you can get residency. I think the dollar amount has gone up. He's proposing more, and I'm sorry, I don't off the top of my head know the dollar figures. But this is not uncommon. I just think he's raising the dollar amount to get residency.
Text, John.
Thank you, Cliff. Speaking of roads, Flowers Drive, wonderful Wyman today. I see it was dug up after being paved 2 years ago.
John, how about if I read those so you could save your throat?
Go ahead.
How many deaths from driving under the influence of weed? How about the traffic mess at the pot shop on Rogers Street every day, all day long. I drive by there a lot, yes. Always a great show when Dr. Bill Johnson is a guest. He's very intellectual, well-spoken, and well-informed. Refreshing to see his subtle pushback on the fealty to Trump in the room.
Back to you guys. Thank you.
Jay Curtis
Was that
is,
John? Was that John?
that was John Curtis, yes.
I felt that in my bones.
Now, Cliff, would you ask Liam Skinner to come in and sit with the doctor sometime? I'd like Dr. Bill to enlighten the
Harass him.
superintendent about teaching the children how to be rich.
Since the parents apparently are no longer able to do that.
Well, how did
Yeah,
you get
I'll
rich?
do that.
How'd you get rich, Cliff?
I didn't get rich.
How'd you get rich, Bill?
I didn't get rich.
Is it a learnable skill?
There are certain skills that are very important for
Do you
people
think
to
it
learn.
would be well for the superintendent to listen to what you have to say?
I wouldn't presume to say that. I think it's good for the superintendent to consider teaching personal finance in the schools, though, which I know you like.
Hey, you know what? You instantly get someone's attention, and they couldn't care less what you're wearing. Look at Elon Musk. We don't care what he's wearing.
I just want people to be able to do well. Not be rich, to do well.
Well, I'm tired of finding out that, okay, the best example I can give of this grandmother, she bought her grandson, he just graduated the Voc, electrical. She bought the grandson a truck, outfitted with the tools he'd need, and he couldn't make a go of the business because he didn't know what he was doing. And now the guy works in the public sector. He's no longer an electrician. And so it's a learnable skill how to create a small business. It's a learnable skill how to take care of your bills. And when I listen to car dealers who are a little heartbroken of how they do business, where they'll have an 18-year-older have a 7-year note on a car. Look at this beautiful Silverado, you'll love this. And it's $85,000. Who would lend a kid $85,000? But they do. Back over to you guys.
Okay. So, another thing that I saw recently that needs to be taught is vocational arts. I can remember 6th, 7th, 8th grades doing shop, learning to work with wood, learning to work with plastic, in fact. And it was just part of the school day. Should we be doing that kind of thing, helping children learn how to work with our hands and do things with a hammer and a saw and a drill press?
I do think, and I'd be interested in Eileen's thoughts on this as well, I do think we have to be careful in pushing every single student to go to a university. I think there are many students who can live a fulfilling whole life without going to university, and we do ourselves a disservice by saying everyone should go to university.
Eileen? I think go ahead, Eileen.
Oh, can you? Sorry, I'm a little far away from my phone. I think everybody needs to realize their own strengths and their own limitations, and that's a part of it in high school, and I think that needs to be kind of a part of the high school experience. A little more guidance of, all right, are you going along a college path, or are you going more along a career path, and what's going to work for you when you leave here? Because if it's a parent's wish or a teacher's wish or somebody else's wish for a student to go to university, student's not going to do well with it. But if we have a realistic conversation, like, where do you see yourself? What do you see yourself doing? And there is going to be a chunk of kids that just have no clue, but that's why I think it's important to expose them to various shops and things like that.
Yeah.
Got a text for Bill.
Do you want me to read it?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Johnson's point of view is always welcomed on the show, well thought out and measured.
Well, that's very nice.
Yeah, that's nice. Thank you. John wrote that again. This
Yeah.
time he didn't sign his name.
Yeah.
No, it's a different person.
Oh,
So at the city council, there's a motion by Eric Gitcher and the mayor, Mr. Rourke, to have the Skanska and Perkins Eastman come in and talk about the Lowell High School renovation project. I think they're getting nervous. And then Rita Mercier wants to know how many city workers are working from home. I think that'd be an interesting question. I liked this from Councilor Yem. Prepare a proclamation declaring March 29th National Vietnam War Veterans Day, 50th anniversary. Thank you, Councilor Yem.
I got a question out there. Does any of these guys bring donuts? No, usually not. No.
Yeah. And then have appropriate department plan an event in conjunction with the declaration. That'll be good. John Dakota, have the city draft legislation to exempt Lowell from the Uniform Procurement Act for homeless student busing, which we talked about. And then he wants to allow 2 representatives of the Save the Smith Baker Center group to enter the building for the specific purpose of city-guided inspection of the interior. It should be good. And by the way, for those of you who want to make a little contribution to the city for free, we've had 1 resignation from the Veteran Commission and 1 resignation from the Board of Parks. You can join in and help govern the city. It's a good thing. And then they have a guy by the name of John Lappin who's going to address the city council about excess parking tickets and fines, etc. Apparently, there's limited parking in front of his house, and
Does he live near
people
Heinz's?
come by to visit him and they get tickets.
Does he live near Heinz's?
Well, that led to Heinz in my mind.
It's coming to your neighborhood. They're going to build a skyscraper. Parking's no longer required. I notice on the agenda, there's nobody looking to change that regulation. Not on the agenda this week either, is there, Cliff, to change that regulation?
I sent you a map of all the communities that are under the MBTA.
They can adopt different forms of it, though.
Yes.
They all have to play bingo, but they play bingo in a different way.
You didn't get the map.
Not that I recall.
Oh,
But I do
okay.
want to put this map up. I'm looking to get competition against every city councilor. I don't want to run for office. I really don't want to run for city council. Really don't want to do it. District 4. Wayne Janess, nice guy. Please go take a look in the mirror, talk to that person, and ask them, is there anybody, including yourself, that's willing to run for public office? We need better elected officials. The city of Lowell, in my opinion, does not live within its means. Power spends all the money it gets from the federal government, the state government, our taxes, and when they run out of money, they just borrow more. It's not a good thing what Lowell's doing, and that's just my take. So we need somebody in Pawtuckaville to run against Danny Rourke. We need somebody to run against Corey Robinson in Centerville. We need somebody to run against, who's up
Corey
there?
Belanger.
Oh, Corey Belanger in Belvedere. We need somebody to run against Wayne Jeunesse, talked about that already. We need somebody to run against
No, we don't. We like Kim Scott.
Kim Scott in South Lowell. Cliff, you know, what makes me a better undertaker? I have competition. No competition. No competition. So, moving right along, number 6. Sakari Chow needs somebody to run against him. Paul Rathayem needs somebody to run against him. And Johnny Dakota needs somebody to run against him. Competition makes a much better candidate. And ask these guys and gals I just talked about, why does the city spend all its money? Why is that? Back over to you guys.
And of course, there's the school committee too, which will have 4 districts and 2 at large. Oh, there's also 3 at large for the city council.
Yep.
Rita?
All right, guys, I have to get going. I'm sorry, but I will next Monday.
Okay.
No, we're not gonna see you Friday?
I have a procedure
So
on Friday.
I understand, so we're not gonna see you Friday.
See you
Yes,
Monday.
well, no-
Bye, Eileen.
What?
See you
Bye,
Monday.
guys. Have a good one.
Stay warm. Thanks, Eileen.
See you next week, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So, what are the odds of inflation being a problem? Are we going to get it under control?
So, inflation, I think, is a problem now, and I think the Trump policies are not helping. So we saw, like, eggs right now are really expensive, and that's because of the bird flu, and it's problematic. It's going to lead to inflation in other grocery items. Milk now is probably going to have an issue with the flu as well. A lot of what the Trump administration is saying is they want tariffs on imports. That's going to lead to inflation. If they go to shipping, returning people who are in the workforce now back to their country, if they're here without residency status, that is an inflationary thing. So there's a lot of policies that the administration has proposed that I think would be inflationary. Now, whether or not they will do those things or are able to execute on those things, that's a different issue. But most of what the administration wants, they seem to be at least mildly inflationary. That would be my interpretation.
The egg thing is interesting. My wife bought a dozen at Market Basket for under $3, but there's a limit of 2 boxes, 2 cartons of eggs. I bought eggs at Hannaford's, almost $8 for a carton.
Wow.
A friend of mine said the eggs are in New York, the greater New York City area, are running $11.50 a dozen. So almost $1 an egg.
Doctor, you could read these.
Sure. I drove by Heinz Tavern yesterday. I didn't realize how small that lot is. Good luck with, quote, getting around at the end of the connector. A nightmare in waiting.
This is from you.
I'm happy to talk about structured credit. I wonder if we should talk about the actions of Elon Musk. I think the apparent goal of dismantling at least certain portions of the government within weeks is worth discussing. Yeah, actually, I do have to say something about Elon Musk. Part of the reason I motioned to Cliff,
Wear a suit.
let's talk about structured debt, is because the Elon Musk behavior is really complicated, and it takes a lot of discussion. You're going to get into legal issues soon. We can't even decide, or in the media and the government decide if Elon Musk runs Doge or not. The president has said that he does, and yet now the administration is backing off and saying he doesn't. it's just really complicated. I think it's problematic to lay off a bunch of people or fire a bunch of people or cut things in 4 weeks. Remember, we're talking about something that's happened in 4 weeks. And of course, you're going to...
Clinton took 4 years to lay off 350,000.
Yeah, I don't think it was 4, but it was certainly more than 2 years.
Yeah.
And you know, Republicans are pointing to that and saying, yeah, the Democrats do this too. But I think doing it in a measured way makes more sense, unless your philosophy is just slash, cut, and the government does mostly bad stuff anyway. If that's your philosophy, then this would be the behavior that would make the most sense.
I read an article in the Asia Times in which they said that it was a good thing that U.S. aid was being dismantled, that only 12.5% of the money ever gets down to the people. It causes corruption, that the Chinese do it a lot better than the U.S. does, which was embarrassing to me. But
yeah, I mean, I would have liked to see a study done of U.S. aid to figure out what things are happening that are good and beneficial to the American people and the people of the world. And if the answer is nothing, then of course cut it all. But I don't think the answer really is nothing. But
I agree.
We're going to lose fat with muscle in that. It's good that we cut fat. I would never say there's no waste in government, but we should be careful in just cutting things without understanding them or bothering to find out what they do.
There is, I see people claiming that the Republicans are going to kill Medicaid. Have you heard that?
Yeah, I've heard it. I mean, I think the issue comes if you listen to what Elon Musk has said about cutting $2 trillion from the budget, and he's backed off this number. But if you look at that number, you can't get there without cutting significant programs and not laying off people. When you're talking about the government workforce, it's only 4% of the government budget. So you can't cut $2 trillion just by laying people off or firing people, even if you fire everyone who works for the government.
Tomorrow, City Life, we're going to have Bob Hoey, Ned Tommy. I don't think so, Ned. I talked to Ned a couple of days ago. He's not feeling tip-top yet. Tommy Momo's going to be, and then Ray Levitt is coming to talk about Irish Cultural Week. And time is short, Cliff. Thanks.
So zoom in on this, John.
Okay.
This.
Talk about it?
Yeah, I want to talk about it. The federal budget, the bottom line is interest. The next line up is the defense budget, and then the top line is everything else in the budget. And we can see there was a big peak. Can you kill the names for a second?
Yeah.
We can see that there was a big peak
10 seconds.
during the Biden Inflation Reduction Act. So not all of that is Social Security.
Remember, this is in percentages, so if you look
Say
in
goodbye,
dollar
boys.
amounts, it doesn't look quite like that. You're scaling it in a way that makes it look like a huge
Okay,
jump.
you're only on Facebook and YouTube now.
I'm done.
All righty. Say goodbye, guys.
Bye.
Thanks for watching. See
We
you
never got to, one of the things, one of these days I want to talk about is Liz Warren and what's her name, Lloyd Trahant said the same thing.
You're
Get the rich to
You're
pay
still
their,
on, so continue.
pay their fair share. And I want to know what that is.
They want who to pay their fair share?
The rich.
Give us a Snickers bar.
Yeah, I mean, these are philosophical arguments more than economic arguments.
Yeah.
And many Democrats actually do exactly what you're saying. Joe Biden has said this too, right? He wants the rich to pay their fair share or companies to pay their fair share. But it's not clear what that means
Well, why don't
economically.
we have China pay? Just send China the bill and let China pay our taxes. No taxes this year, China's going to pay.
This is kind
They
of
do
Donald
that.
Trump's argument about tariffs, though, right?
Yeah.
Donald Trump is saying, well, tariffs are going to raise so much money, we won't have to pay taxes.
We have to pay the tariffs. That's what's going to happen.
I know it is.
So
But
that's it, kid.
When did income tax come in? 100 years ago?
Roughly 100 years ago.
Yeah. Before that, tariffs paid it.
That's true. But the government does a lot of things it didn't do 100 years ago. A lot of things.
That's true. Thanks, John.
Answer to your question, Google says in 1913, that's when we had the federal income tax on February 25th, 1913.
And as a constitutional amendment, 3/4 of the states voted for that. What in the world were they thinking?
They wanted a good salary.
They were thinking.
See you tomorrow. Bye.